The Morningstar candlestick formation. A lot of traders can recognize the overall pattern, but fail to actually see it on a live chart when looking for opportunities using this formation in live trading situations. So the purpose of this video is to really dive into the Morningstar formation, get a general understanding for it, and then how to utilize it in the proper context. So to start off with, we got to define the Morningstar formation. Now the first step is it is a 3 candlestick formation represented as you see here on the chart. We do have a full-bodied bearish candle, an indecision candle, and then a full-bodied bullish candlestick. So typically with a lot of people, what they will do is pull up a chart, like I will do right here, and try to recognize candlestick formations somewhere here where it really doesn't make sense. For example, you might say, well, right here in this sequence, we do have a period of candlesticks where we see a full-bodied candlestick, a bunch of indecision, and then a full-bodied bullish candlestick. Well, that's really a way to not use the Morningstar candlestick formation. So what I like to do is this. When I'm looking at my charts, I want to recognize, first of all, a trend. I want to see, is the market trending? Is it consolidated? And when I'm looking for my Morningstars, they're typically found at the bottom of trends. So when we see a trend line, something like this right here, typically right around that region at the bottom of a trend line would be a common spot to find a Morningstar formation. So as you see here, this is not really a Morningstar formation. So let's try to find one here on a live chart. So we're going to keep booking, we're going to keep looking. And so far, not really seeing any. Once again, sometimes they appear, sometimes they don't. What we got to do is stay diligent and look for an example of this formation. So right here would be an example of a formation that we could use for a Morningstar. So why is that the case? Well, first off, we do have a bearish full-body candlestick, a spinning top candlestick in the middle, and then a full-bodied bullish candlestick. Once again, that middle candle could be a doji candlestick or something like this, which is a spinning top. But the key is we want to find it where it's at the bottom of a trend. So typically right there, we see a counter trend that is formed, and we see that full-bodied bearish, indecision, and then a full-bodied bullish candlestick. So right here would be an example where if an individual chose to make an entry into this market with this formation, one could do so once it is spotted. So if an individual wishes to make an entry, they could do so at the close of that candlestick. So where comes the stop and the limit? That's the question a lot of traders like to ask. Well, first off, when I'm looking at an example like this, I typically will place it below that low. So right here, this was that low price of that full-bodied bearish candle. That was my most recent low. And what I would do is just place my stop loss right there. Then I would measure it out from my point of entry, somewhere like right here. And as you can see, this is 55 ticks below the current market. Now, this is an example for a bullish entry. Morningstar candlesticks are for bullish entries, meaning we are expecting the price to increase. So in an example like this, what we could do is if we wanted to do a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, what we would do is measure from that entry point and go 55 ticks above the candlestick entry to give us an area of a take profit. So with this, if an individual chose to enter in here, you have your entry, your stop loss, and your take profit defined. So if one were to take an entry here, let's see how this one would have worked out. If we see it's fighting, we're seeing a big bull battle, and right there, there was a candlestick where it hit the stop loss. Meaning, if an individual were to take this trade right here, this would have been a 55 tick loss. All right, so that's one example of one where it did not work. So let's keep looking. We're going to keep looking and find out Morningstar. And let's see. So right here is another example that we could use to help form a morning star formation. So as we see, the market was overall trending upward, giving us an uptrend. Then we started seeing a little bit of a reversal and giving us a new trend forming against the main trend, which is called a counter trend. Once we have that formed, we have our trend making lower lows, lower highs, and within this sequence, we can see a period of 3 candles where there is some indecision at the bottom right there. We have a full-bodied bullish candlestick, a period of indecision right here in the middle, and then a bullish full-bodied candlestick. So using this example, here's another one where an individual can choose to make an entry at the close of that candlestick if they so choose. Stop loss would be below. And then you'd measure out from your entry to your stop loss, which in this example would be 158 ticks. So after that said, we measure up from the point of entry 158 ticks above. And we do a take profit above the entry for the bullish opportunity. So let's get this centered and let's see how this one would have panned out. So as you see, the market's pushing up, going down, going up, going down, forming a little bit of consolidation. And then let's see, does this extend out and hit the take profit? Not quite yet. Getting close, but right here it does. So in this example, it took a little bit of time. It went from about 3:30 in the afternoon to about 7:45. So it took a couple hours, but it eventually did hit the target profit. And so with this example, we took 2 trades. First one was a losing trade. That was 55 ticks. The next one was a winning trade with 158 ticks. So between the losing and the winning, we still netted a 100 tick profit from these 2 examples. Let's look for another example. We're going to keep going, and we're going to look for some more Morningstar opportunities. So let's zoom in a little bit, get it centered. And the whole point of what we're trying to do is scroll and just find examples of how to use Morningstars. Now, once again, you might find them in the middle of a uptrend. You might find them in a period of consolidation. You might spot them in a lot of different places. So right here is an example of a Morningstar formation in an uptrend. And once again, if you spot it in the wild and you choose to use it, you can do so and place it following the rules. Once again, there's not any rhyme or reason for where these will be located at. For example, we have them all over this chart right here. There's another example right before that, right here in the uptrend, where we can spot a bearish candlestick, indecision, and then a full-bodied. Once again, if you made your entry, you could have done so following the same rules, and those 2 examples would have also worked as well. But how a lot of traders like to use these is finding them at the low spots where we see those typical reversal points at low prices. Doesn't mean it may not work here. I mean, it could not. But when we're spotting them in here and how we like to utilize these Morningstar formations, we like to find them at the bottom of the trends at low prices. So let's take a look right here. The market's descending. And let's see, it's going to keep fighting. Right here's an example of a Morningstar one could utilize, where basically you do have your bearish candlestick, indecision, and then a full-bodied bullish candlestick. And it's at the bottom of the trend with the counter trend line break, giving us a low price. So here's an example. If an individual chose to make an entry at the close of this candlestick, one could do so. Place your stop somewhere below that low, and then just measure it out from your point of entry. So in this example, this would be 44 ticks. Right there would be 44 ticks above. And then we could look for a buying example with this particular formation. So let's take a look and see how this would have done. And as you see, started going up, started going down, started forming indecision, and then right there, hit the candlestick and would have given us another winning trade. So once again, when using candlestick formations, there's various techniques of how to use them in live charting situations. The way I like to use them is finding these morning stars at the bottom of these trends, because that does help give an indication of a potential bullish reversal. And that also leads us to buying low prices when the market is showing that sign of a potential reversal point.